Happy Australia Day, mate.
Yes, same to you.
Sorry, what's your name?
Jim. My name's Jim.
And what are you doing here today, Jim?
I'm a member of the Historical Society, and as you can see, we've got a range of displays on today with books and various productions. The Senior Citizens in Altona is 50 years old this year. That's just come out. Yeah, so Historical Society is trying to promote Altona, and as you see outside, the retail traders have got their event on. I can hear the horses clipping past.
Much like 100 years ago.
Yeah, well, I was just saying to people, my grandparents were bakers, and the kids of today haven't seen the old horse and cart.
How long have you been in Altona?
Oh, I'm a youngster, about 30 years myself.
About 30 years. And where'd you come from originally?
I grew up in Spotswood, so I'm more of a Spotswood in my early days. I should be sitting over on the Williamstown Historical Society's table over there. But,
with the current Prime Minister residing in Altona, what do you think of that?
Oh, that's fine, especially as she's a Bulldog supporter. And, yeah, no, it's good for Altona. Puts it on the map in that sense, I think.
If we had her here now to maybe answer a few of your questions, what would you ask her, maybe some issues for the Australian community that you'd like to be addressed?
Just as she's saying today, we have to pull together to help each other in times of crisis. But I think Australia's a pretty good place. Not too much gone wrong as far as I can see.
It's been a successful turnout today?
Yes, yeah, I've only been on for a couple of hours, but I'm the treasurer, so they just came out with a pocket load of money, so I think they're doing all right up the front there, so yes, it's been a good day.
And do you know much about this building?
It's one of the early settlement buildings. He's got our president standing nearby there, he's shaking his head. Yeah, one of the early settlers in Altona. This was one of the early residences. The bluestone was brought over from Tasmania, I believe. It was ballast on the ships to help. It was originally a timber building, I'm told, and it was reconstructed when they had a big bushfire somewhere in the area in the late 1800s. The owners thought it would be better to have some bluestone around, so it came over as ballast, and people survived from Tassie, and it's to help keep the ships upright, I think, on the way over, and they upload here and build this. Yeah, it used to extend where the library is. I believe there were stables and extra buildings over there.
And have you done a lot of community work through your life?
I'm in the Lions Club.
Yes. How many years you've been doing this?
Yeah, 35 years.
35 years you've been doing this as a volunteer. That's a great spirit for Australia Day.
Yeah, well, Australia.
G'day mate, how you going? Australia Day in Altona?
It is.
You've seen many of them?
Absolutely.
Sorry, what's your first name?
Lee.
Lee. And you're an ex-mayor?
Yes, correct. Past mayor of the city, yes.
And you've been doing community work in Altona for how long now?
It'll be 50 years the first week of February.
So very dedicated to
Started off with the scouts down here at First Altona and got involved in an awful lot of organisations.
Sounds like you should be Australian Man of the Year.
You reckon?
I think you'd be
I don't know about
pretty
that.
qualified, wouldn't you?
I don't know about that.
I might push for it.
Yeah, I don't know about that.
Now listen, with Julia Gillards living in the, Altona,
Yep.
What would be some of the issues you'd like to address to her in regards to making the community better in Altona that need to be addressed?
It's a bit hard actually to be so local, because I mean she's national. She's the Australian Prime Minister, and it's certainly brought a lot of publicity to Altona. But it's pretty hard local issues there. But I think the concentration at the moment is our flood relief appeals and trying to get the small country towns back on their feet. I think that's important. The infrastructure to be replaced is going to be huge. It's going to cost us billions and billions of dollars to do it. And it's really, to me, we need to concentrate what we need to do now, worry about next week, to make sure that our country folk, particularly up in the northwest of Victoria, at the moment they're in diabolical trouble with the water through there. And some of the little small towns, I mean, we've had our members that have been up in Halls Gap, Stawell, Beaufort. We've just had another got to come back to the day from Birchip and Horsham, and we've also had one of our members up in Queensland in the flood relief up there. So it's pretty, to me, I think we need to really look at how we're going to get our people back on their feet. and particularly small business, which employs a lot of people. We need to be able to get them up and running as well.
Do you think the Prime Minister is addressing those issues?
I think in the big picture, yes. I mean, she's brought the military in. She's got a committee of some very fine Australians there to rebuild and starting off to get the country back on its feet. And I think we've got to look at it on the national basis, not rather on the local basis. It's a pretty big issue. It's when you think of it, 3/4 of Queensland's been affected. Almost half of Victoria, just over a third of Victoria, and it's something now that we start to move in. As the waters recede, then we move in. Even our local council here is up at the Shire of Bull Oak. They sent up 3 tip trucks, a compactor, a large front end loader and 3 utes. There's eight council staff gone up there to help our friends with the alliance between the Shire of Bull Oak and the City of Hobsons Bay. And I mean, I had a fair involvement with that. That was been a great asset to this community, and that's hands-on stuff from people in Hobsons Bay to people in Bull Oak. So that's first.
So in the work you do, you see the Great Australian Spirit really in flight.
Absolutely. I mean, it's another involvement I have is I chair the Fit to Drive Foundation, which is an education program. We got it to over 25,000 secondary students last year. We hope to get it to 30,000 this year to give the opportunity for the young ones to be empowered to make decisions, to be safe on the roads and share the roads as an asset. And that's a tremendous program, and that's going right across Victoria. It started off in 2001 at 18 secondary colleges. We went to 154 colleges last year, and we hope to take that to a further go from there. So it's really, I'm fortunate enough to be able to see on both ends. One of the other programs I'm involved with is the Older Driver Expo, where we look for drivers that are 60 years in age and over, and we try and bring them up to the current laws and what they've got to do in relation to the law of driving, prescribed medicines. We get their vehicle checked. If they want to, they can even have a driving check. There's no examination or anything else. It's purely and simply an information to bring them up to the modern trends.
Do you think with the getting back to the floods?
Yep.
Do you think there could have been anything preventative that past governments could have done to actually not create such a the disaster as it's turned out?
Not this time around. I mean, take the Victorian floods. There is no precedent recorded here in Victoria of the floods, and Queensland's the same. It is unprecedented. We build on each time there's a flood, we build on it. And but when you come to the situation here in Victoria, it's a 1 in 200 event, which means it's double the amount of flood. It doesn't mean you're going to get one of these every 200 years. It's just the amount of water that's there and the way it goes off, because we've had heavy spring rains and it's now all runoff. So the levees that have been put in from previous floods are holding, and we've been very fortunate that way. And it'll slowly go and drop into the river and slowly move on through. But the other thing we have to look at now is the water will be coming down from Queensland down through the Darling River. As the Darling comes into the Murray, so you've got about 4 major rivers all spilling into the Murray at the moment, or not the Darling as yet, but Darling yet, but it will be coming very shortly. That's a couple of weeks away that the water will start to come in. So I think actually we're very fortunate here in Victoria that our emergency management planning is an excellent high quality, and we've got we'd like more volunteers. I mean there's always a shortage of them, but it really means that.
And how can, if someone is interested in volunteering, what would you suggest them to do?
If they say it's for SES, I'll talk on SES. If it's for SES, if they ring our headquarters, the Victorian State headquarters, the SES in Sturt Street in South Bank, and give their details there, and they will then send the information to the nearest SES unit to their address, and they'll be contacted from there. So we're going to have about 20 odd people in a couple of weeks' time that are coming down to find out about SES volunteering. Look, it's not for everybody. It's a real strong, heavy commitment. There's a few of us here today. We've been with this local unit since it started 27.5 years ago, and it really means that if you take on any of these things, it's a full commitment, and it's really a good thing. I'd like to see more young people come in. Particularly the youngsters' stage, perhaps before they go to university, when they're in their last, if they've got a bit of time when they're in between their VCE and their sporting and other things, to try and make sure that what I call the community spirit lives on, and that's important. It's really coming out now. It's, I mean, when things get really tough, Australians really come together and the community spirit comes forward. But we need a lot of our young people to be able to take on. All us old buggers are getting to the stage where we move on, and we need the young ones to follow on, because it is important. And I think volunteering in this country, other countries around the world are absolutely amazed at what we do as volunteers in Australia. They really can't comprehend it, and they can't understand, oh well, we should be paying for this, we should be paying for that. Well, yeah, that's fine, but if you're volunteering, you're giving something of yourself back to the community. I've always had a little, and I'll finish with this, a little thought I try to put up with everybody: try and leave a place just that little bit better than you found it. And if everybody sort of had a look at that sort of a philosophy on life, we'd have an extremely rich community. We've got a rich one now, but we could make it a lot richer. Beautiful. All right.
Absolute pleasure, mate. That's you made my day.
No worries. Take care.
We were just speaking to Lee Harding, an incredible Australian on Australia Day in Altona. These SES people do an incredible job, and it should make you very proud to be Australian today. And yeah, everybody have a great Australia Day.